Hello, I am Fernando Pizzani, presenting Architecture's Status. This presentation will discuss architecture's status within the context that identity is shaped through architecture's design, use, and production, based on the premise that social status is an essential contributing factor to identity development, and that architecture is an expression of the values and aspirations of society. We will propose the view that architecture's status symbol has power to condition and transform the people that create it and use it. Architecture's transforming power arises from place being a fundamental element in developing people's identity through its attached meaning and sentiments. Unwin, 2009. This piece is divided into two main sections. Firstly, we will discuss social status and an early historical example of architecture as a symbol of social status and identity during the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt. Secondly, we will analyze the heritage-listed mansion Bulamimba, designed by John Hunt and built between 1884 and 1888 in Armidale, New South Wales, as a case study illustrating the argument of this work. Social status and identity are closely linked. Thomas and Smithia reaffirmed the idea of social identity as a central factor in a person's sense of identity as an individual, as put forward by Tashfeld in 1979. They also support the notion that a person's house symbolizes their social status both in their self-perception and as others perceive it. Hence, it is reasonable to suggest that architecture is intrinsically an instrument for expressing identity and status. This is obvious in the Greek elite in Egypt during the rule of Ptolemy XV between 332 and 30 BC. Their architecture incorporated Greek stylistic elements into their buildings, such as classical orders, decorative patterns, and mosaics, indicating the resident sense of identity and social status, called 2021, and contributing to the fabric of their society. Whether as a private dwelling, a religious building, or a state-sponsored structure, architecture has always been an expression of the culture that created it. Lawrence J. Vail supports this view, stating that every building as an architectural expression results from societal and cultural factors. On the other hand, as asserted by Palasma, the interaction with buildings generate experience, memories, and emotions that become part of the person's identity. The building we'll be discussing next is a clear example of these ideas. Frederick White commissioned Bulamimba in 1984. The 55-bedroom mansion was the third largest domestic building in Australia upon its completion in 1888. It is described in the 1904 July edition of the Journal of the Institute of Architects New South Wales as, quote, probably the finest country house in Australia, unquote. It is a prime example of architecture as a status symbol. White's desire to build a gentleman's house, a building that will display the family's wealth, English origin, and social status, is manifest in his appointment of the architect John Hunt. Hunt at the time was renowned for his designs heavily influenced by the English and American styles in vogue. In line with Hunt's work, the aesthetic and stylistic choices for the design heavily borrowed from the Gothic Revival and Queen Anne styles, an indication of the owner's tastes and origin. Historian Bruce Mitchell, in his book House on the Hill, asserts that Bulamimba's design conformed to the precepts presented by Robert Kerr in his 1864 book The Gentleman's House. These precepts include prescriptive guidance on the layout of the house. For example, separating the servants' area from the families is presented as an essential principle. As stated before, a society's values and aspirations are expressed in its architecture. Mitchell unambiguously articulates this when he writes, quote, there was a desire by the dominant and wealthy groups in the society to be separate from the subordinate classes, unquote, to ascertain their superiority. Consequently, the architecture also influenced the identity of the other household users. Servants, for example, are constantly reminded of the condition as subordinates, thus reinforcing it. Willamimba's location high on the hill presented an imposing and dominant structure that immediately indicated the importance of its owner. When approaching the building, the messages continue. The large massing of the main section of the building, stepping down towards the west wing, where the services and work area were located, was a significant statement on the two classes of people that inhabited the building. We have seen through the examples discussed that function in architecture goes beyond the programmatic requirements. Often the function of a status symbol takes precedence over the practical use of a building and significantly influences the form with direct effects on the user's experience.